Hey everyone, today marks the release of Abyss Perfectum Stratum 6, and with it we actually got two new banners. The first being a rerun of Hope and Ace with Ace BT weapon, and the second is actually quite a good banner. It's the Garnet BT with newly released Alisaie LD and a rerun of Keiss LD, and Keiss himself also did get a rework as well. So I thought I'll just quickly cover sort of my opinion on these two banners and what I think of them, because obviously these weren't in my original pool plan video. I've labeled this as part 2 because I did do another video covering the first bunch of banners that we got during the anniversary event, and I'll put a link to that in the video description as well, so if you're interested in the earlier banners featuring Garnet's BT, do check out that link as well. I do have to emphasize that this is an opinion video, which is heavily biased by my playstyle and preferences as well, and considering that there's actually many approaches to playing this game, it may or may not be the right one for you. So I'll start off with what I think is the more straightforward banner, featuring a rerun of Ace and Hope, and Ace will also have his burst weapon featured on this banner as well. So there's nothing new on this banner. All of the weapons here were already available on earlier banners, and both Ace and Hope themselves also did not get any rework, so you will be getting the versions that people will have access to earlier in the game. So starting off with Hope, he is somewhat of an outdated support. He can still obviously work in Lufenia Plus as with all LD units, but considering that his Protect and Shell buff only mitigate Brave damage, I think there's probably better ways or other characters that can better mitigate incoming damage. Nowadays, you also have characters that can mitigate HP damage as well. Next up, we have Ace, who is a great magic DPS unit. He was one of the top tier units earlier during his BT release because he was the, I believe, second BT plus unit featured in Lufenia Plus, but given that that was months ago, you have to consider that his kit is slightly dated to this point. We do have quite a number of great DPS units, many of them are BT plus. Obviously we have the big three, which is Machina, Null and Locke coming up as well, and we of course have Garnet as well, who functions both as a great support and DPS unit. So even if you don't have Ace's BT weapon and you want to pull for it, the question you really have to ask yourself is it worth spending the BT ingots to green Ace? Because BT ingots are quite rare, and we do have Garnet as well that is a great candidate to receive those ingots. His traps are unique in that they deal their Brave and HP damage after any turn, whereas other trap units usually only trigger after the enemies take their turn. So this can work really well across some stages, such as those where the Lufenia orb requires you to deal Brave damage from a debuff. For me, it's an easy decision because I already have all the weapons here. I do have Ace's BT, but I've always left it at base BT, and given that I'll be skipping this banner, but even with that, if I did not have any of these weapons, I don't think I'll be investing my gems and tickets on this banner, because I think I will be happier using other support or DPS characters at this stage. Next up, we have Alisaie LD newly released, and we also have Keiss LD being rerun, but Keiss also did receive a rework as well as his C90 upgrade on this banner. And if you haven't yet pulled for Garnet's burst weapon, her burst weapon is also available on this banner. So I'll start off with Keiss. As I mentioned, his LD is a rerun, but he did also get a rework, and it was quite a good rework. His hero support buff used to only last for 1 turn, but is now lasting for 8 turns, and that's quite a huge difference, because with that buff you can actually just buff someone with this and they can launch every turn inside their BT mode. Take note though that this only works when Keiss is in the main party, and if you use him as a call ability, it will still only last for 1 turn. Next up, we have Alisaie, who also receives her C90 and the LD is somewhat of a time traveling LD. She has quite a complicated kit. She is a good magic DPS character and is also a turn hogger, which in the current meta is quite good because you can then trigger all the often attacks such as from Noctis or Cloud of Darkness. So that is actually a plus rather than a detriment for her. She also has the benefit of being able to hit 4 different elements across the kit, which is fire, thunder, earth and wind. If you don't mind learning her kit and getting used to her rotations, she can be quite a good magic DPS character. I guess the only drawback you would want to consider is that there are also many other options for DPS characters at this stage that would rival or maybe even be better than using Alisaie and would have much more simpler kits than her. That being said though, I think she is quite a good DPS option. What's really good about Alisaie is also her call ability, which is at this point I think one of the best LD call abilities in the game. Now I took a screenshot from Compendium, which I put on this slide as well, to show what her LD call ability does. It only affects the caller, but it is pretty loaded, so it gives the caller 4 different elemental enchants: fire, thunder, earth and wind. And when you bring Alisaie in as a call ability, she will also imperil the enemy across all these 4 elements at the same time. The caller also gets a whopping 40% increase in brave damage up, 20% in HP damage done, and a 20% brave regen upon every brave hit, somewhat similar to how Keiss LD call functions. So it is pretty loaded, all in one call ability. And if you use this LD call ability right before you go into burst mode, you can imagine it does quite a lot of damage. You do have to consider though that if you are setting Alisaie LD call on a burst mode character, then that means you also cannot set Seed Rain's call. However, that's where Keiss actually comes in. So you can actually main party Keiss and set the Alisaie LD call, for example, on a burst mode character like Machina or Garnet, and you can have Keiss buff that character with hero support for 8 turns, and then have that DPS character bring in Alisaie LD call and then go into a massive burst mode. So overall I think this is a great banner because you actually have 3 characters that work fairly well together. Garnet is, by now everyone would have seen, a great support and DPS character. She can deal massive damage in her burst mode, and with Keiss and Alisaie on a banner, if you're a fairly new player and you go for all 3, you can main party Keiss and Garnet, for example, buff Garnet with hero support, and at the same time have Garnet use Alisaie LD call to get all those juicy buffs on herself before she go into her burst mode. So this will also allow her to launch every single turn in her burst mode due to the 8 turns of hero support buff. So they really synergize well together, and I think it's a great banner if you're looking to have a playstyle that goes into massive burst mode, dealing 15 to 20 million damage. This banner has lots of units and utility for you to be able to achieve that. For myself, I actually went in with tickets on this banner because I already have Garnet's burst weapon and I also have Keiss's LD weapon already from earlier banners. So I'm just mainly aiming to score Alisaie's LD, so tickets it was for me, and I did manage to snag her LD, which is a win. If you haven't yet scored Garnet's burst weapon, this is actually quite a good banner for you to try and get it. Take note though that there is one more banner coming up featuring Garnet's BT weapon. We don't yet fully know what's going to appear on that banner, although many people suspect that it will likely be Echo and Vivi on that banner, but there hasn't been any official news yet by the devs. So if you are looking for to get either Echo or Vivi, then you may want to wait for that. But if you're not too fast about those 2, then this is a great banner because all 3 units work really well together. So that's it for this banner. As always, I hope the video has been helpful, and if you do like the content, please leave a like, comment and subscribe. It really helps a lot. Till then, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!